All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Sort of mid-afternoon, and all I keep hearing about is, when's the NFT thing? When's the NFT thing? When's the NFT thing? Welcome to academic track session number 6. It's the NFT thing. NFTs and EDU, acronym soup or a recipe for success. Our speaker is Katie Hestor from Alvernia University. Katie is a startup strategist and pitch deck coach. She serves as the graduate assistant of startup ventures and opaque investments, as well as assisting business incubator manager at Alvernia University's Opaque Institute. Driven by vision, she uses it as a vehicle to help students and entrepreneurs reach their full potential. Over the past 2 years, she has mentored over 45 businesses across various industries and is developing a program to support pre-seed and seed ventures. Katie, you should be in the business plan competition. Hestor is a Wilkes University graduate holding a BA in marketing and a minor in entrepreneurship. She graduated magna cum laude with honors. In December 2022, she will receive her MA in organizational leadership. Please welcome Katie Hestor.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me here today in this observable universe. I'd like you to take a moment to observe all your surroundings, your feet firmly on the ground, your seat and how your body is sitting it, and the walls, the ceiling, the lights, and my voice. Now, let me introduce you to the Metaverse. We could all be having the same conversation in a 3D digital world, just like this one. This Metaverse on the screen is called Degi World. And Degi World is a conference that me and my colleagues attended just 1 year ago. Now, obviously, there's some similarities and some differences between attending a conference physically like we are here today versus in the Metaverse. One of those differences is instead of showing up in your physical body like we are here today, you show up as an avatar to represent you. However, a similarity is in both scenarios, you have the opportunity to listen, to learn, and to network. Today, we're going to be exploring this world together and how it can be applied to institutes of higher education and their programming. Dawn gave me a great intro, so I don't think I need to say much, but I am the graduate assistant of startup ventures and opaque investments, and over the past 2 years, I have been exposed to and a part of the true hands-on experiential learning that we talked a lot about today. And I am a testament to how it has propelled me forward both professionally and personally. And we have Michelle Conway, who's a friendly face to TechBridge Nation. Unfortunately, she cannot be here with us today, but she is the Director of Student and Client Services at Alvernia University's Opaque Institute, and she is spearheading many of the initiatives to implement NFTs and the Metaverse at Alvernia. Now, before we dive in, I want to take a quick temperature check of where the room is at. So how would you rate your knowledge or comfort level with NFTs and the Metaverse? You all have 3 note cards in front of you, and in a moment, I'll ask you to hold one of those up. I'll ask you to hold up the pink card if you are an expert in the space. I'll ask you to hold up the orange card if you're comfortable, but you're still figuring all of this out. And I'll ask you to hold up the blue card if you're thinking, LOL, WTF, what is all of this? So now, if you would, please hold up the pink card if you are an expert. Woo, got one expert. Hold up the orange card if you are figuring it out. Alrighty. And then hold up the blue card if you are pretty lost. Thank you. So we had about half the room, or a little less, in the lukewarm, which is truly where I'm at. I am comfortable, but certainly still figuring it out. We did have one hot expert, which I will be connecting with after this talk. And we had pretty many, I'd say over half down here in the cold, which is perfectly fine. That's why we're talking about it today. So for those of us that are still figuring it out, we're going to go over some terminology that's critical to understand. First is NFT, non-fungible token. These tokens are 100% unique, and they are created when a digital file is minted and then added to the blockchain. These digital files can be in the form of video, GIF, or image, which are the most common today. Next is the Metaverse, which is a 3D digital world that you enter through a virtual reality headset. You can own things in the Metaverse, a car, you can create an avatar to represent you, you can buy portraits, you can even own a car and drive it around. And last, we have cryptocurrency. This is decentralized digital money based on blockchain technology. You may be most familiar with Bitcoin or Ethereum, but there are actually over 19,000 forms of cryptocurrency. So let's walk through an example of what this really looks like. Let's pretend this beautiful portrait of Don Webster was created as an NFT and then minted on the blockchain. And then along comes Jerry. And Jerry decides he's going to hop in Meta, which I'll be clear is just one version of the Metaverse. There are hundreds of thousands. We have the bidding war starting already. So Jerry hops in Meta, Facebook's version of the Metaverse, in his virtual reality headset, and he spots this NFT of Don for sale. And he thinks, whoa, that is cute, and I want it. So he tosses over some of his Bitcoin, and he picks up that NFT, and he drives it back to his virtual mansion to place it on his virtual fireplace mantle. This, my friends, is the future. And some of us are already embracing the future. So I'll play a quick video for us. So some of us are already embracing the future. Does anyone have children or grandchildren who play Fortnite, by a show of hands? Okay. Well, these children, I have a brother who's 13, and I had to consult with him while making this slide because I do not play Fortnite. But what I found out is these children are essentially in a metaverse, and they are using digital currency called V-Bucks. Now, these V-Bucks can buy a number of items in the game, but one of them is outfits called skins. And this whole world called Fortnite, from the characters to the grass to the building materials, are all 100% unique to this metaverse. Now, every user can buy these skins that also have been created by users. Users have submitted their designs, and then the game has then implemented them. So the users are giving their own input, their own designs using digital technology, and then buying these outfits or skins using their V-Bucks. So many teens and preteens are asking for this digital currency instead of real items in this physical world. Again, this is the future. Now, here are some household names that we all might be a little bit more familiar with: Adidas, the Super Bowl, Dolce & Gabbana, and even Pope Francis. Here are all the same household brands, but represented in the metaverse. You could buy tickets to the 2021 Super Bowl via the metaverse. Adidas is creating a whole fashion line specifically for avatars. The Vatican has an NFT art gallery. And Dolce & Gabbana just hosted their international fashion show via the metaverse. So now that we have a little bit better of an idea of NFTs and the metaverse, let's talk about how this concept can be applied to institutes of higher education. Of course, we'll be using Alvernia University as our use case today. A little bit of background on Alvernia: they celebrated their 60th anniversary in 2018 as a private Franciscan university in Reading, Pennsylvania. And in the recent years, under President John Loyak's leadership, we have been growing at an accelerated pace. The university recently launched its Reading College Town strategy. They reinvented the OPAIC Institute for Economic Development and Entrepreneurship. They launched the Spark Business Incubator and the College of STEAM. So you're probably asking, how can a small private university like Alvernia implement this new cutting-edge technology? Well, we plan on implementing this through none other than the Opaque Institute by connecting students with traditional industries to revolutionize mainstream business. So what does this look like? Let's look at manufacturing, a very traditional industry. What if a local manufacturer of hats sold new digital designs to avatars in the metaverse? And then we look at agriculture, another very traditional industry. What if each stage of the mushroom growing process was captured and then minted as an NFT on the blockchain? And you're probably thinking, Katie, I really don't care about each stage of the mushroom growing process. However, this will allow us to verify that our fruits and vegetables are non-GMO, organic, or farm to table. Today, we are trusting that our farmers markets and our grocery stores are telling the truth, and we hope that they are, but really we have no idea what journey that carrot or watermelon or tomato has been on. And with NFTs, we will be able to verify that. So, why does it matter? Why would we want to implement NFTs for students in programming? Well, it can have a positive impact on that student experiential learning and economic development. Beginning with students, they will be exposed to new design mediums, increased digital financial literacy, and applications to international business. And when we look at economic development, when we combine these traditional business models with new technologies, it will lead to sustainable growth and even save these old industries from failing as we move into the next generation. It will lead to job creation, job retention, and the retention of local talent. And I want to dive just one peg deeper on that. This will truly develop a brand new workforce. So on the left, you see a picture of an example of these new design mediums that students will be exposed to. This is part of that hands-on experiential learning that we are implementing at Alvernia. And on the right, the treasured portrait of Don makes another appearance, but with just one slight alteration of the bow tie. Now, this slight alteration brings up intellectual property questions, critical questions. Who owns what? What goes to what metaverse? What do I really own? So when we ask all these questions, we have to take a step back. We need to explore. And these are exactly the critical intellectual questions that students will be exploring alongside industry as we implement these new Web3 technologies. The internet became popular in 1995, less than 30 years ago. And we use it all the time, as our main speaker said today. I've used it right now in that video, and I bet you've used it multiple times today. So 30 years from now, we will be saying, how did we live without the metaverse? I invite you all to embrace. Thank you for your time and attention today, and I'd like to take some questions.
I want to know how much Jerry's going to pay for my NFT. Here we go. Questions. Katie, where's this going to live at Alvernia?
That's an interesting question, Don. We are planning our space of where our NFT lab will be located, but we are certainly excited for that.
So which kind of academic professors are going to be engaged in this conversation? That's actually what I meant by where's it going to live.
Gotcha. This will be very cross-disciplinary, so engineering, of course, our arts department, of course, a lot with the College of STEAM as we try to implement these traditional industries.
I think that's great. Do you have, Jerry?
Yeah, Katie, Jerry Wilkes, thank you for allowing me to have the first bid on Mr. Webster's photo.
Of course.
Isn't that great? I own that now, and thank you very much, Don. But that led me to... I have a place for it. But the question is this. If I have the original, right, I have the original, and now there's been a reproduction, the question that comes to my mind is who owns the intellectual property? Even though I have something virtually, if I had a picture, for instance, or a portrait, Don's portrait, I could always say, well, this is the original, and I have the provenance, right? I have the provenance. But in this change, and especially with students that are in digital design, media arts, engineering, where there's changes being made, who owns the IP, the intellectual property, and what are you going to do at Alvernia? Because that's a question at Wilkes when we work with designs, logo designs, or prototype design. Who owns the property, especially in this virtual versus physical prototypes or what have you? So the dynamics are very different. The transitions are very different.
Yep.
Who addresses that? And I know Dr. Ridley's an expert in intellectual
Right.
property, but could you answer that, please?
We certainly understand how intellectual property works in the real world, copyrights, trademarks, patents, but that is one of those critical questions that we need to talk about and we need to figure out when we move into this new world of a digital space. What I will say is I have done a little poking around, and there's discussions of when we can figure out who owns that intellectual property or who is the creator of art. There are discussions of that being able to be validated, and then as that is reproduced, a royalty coming back to the original creator of that piece of art. But again, as far as the intellectual property, those are questions we are critically asking and seeking the answers for.
My sense is that it simplifies the problem.
Hopefully, yes, with the minting on the blockchain and the individual code, yes.
Liz.
Thank you, Katie. This is all very interesting. And you had started it saying about the lecture that took place that you attended last year in the Metaverse.
Yes.
So it might be, again, something for discussion, but like, are there any professionalism requirements? Like here today, we all are dressed a certain way. We speak to each other a certain way. Are those same requirements determined in the metaverse? Do we have to act a certain way and all of that?
I definitely think there will be metaverses built for the professional scene versus metaverses built for the leisure scene. However, I think we're figuring that out. I think we have to look at our own human psychology and say, well, if I'm going to go to a professional conference in the metaverse and network with the same people that are here today, I would probably dress prepared for that. But as you probably have seen, there's lots of wild animal costumes and prints and colors and all kinds of crazy stuff that's going on in the metaverse. So I can't say for sure, but lean on your human psychology with that one.
Sorry, that was a little loud. I'm Will Craven from Lackawanna College, and I think no matter what, we could all identify that this is the future, regardless if we think it's logical or illogical. Because at times it seems like who's going to, be in the metaverse doing all these things. If you've seen the movie, it was called Ready Player One. It was like the entire world was in this just run in virtual reality, and the world itself was kind of garbage at that point. I guess to what extent, and all these questions are kind of a crapshoot at this point because we have no idea what it's going to really be like once companies start working together and we get like a unified metaverse. Mm-hmm. I guess what I'm trying to ask is, to what extent do we think the metaverse would extend based on whatever you know at this point? Like, is it going to be where I just wake up and pop my glasses on all day? Because we're going to buy NFTs. Like, you could buy a couch, right? That's in the blockchain. But I'm not going to pay $800 for a digital couch I can't sit on, So to what extent is it going to extend to everyday lives?
I think that everyone will have their own predictions and their own opinions about that. However, I will say I believe status in this physical world will translate to the digital world, because once we spend more time in that digital world, you're going to want the $800 couch if you have it in real life, because you may be meeting with your friends in your digital space just as much as your physical space, and you want that to reflect you in the real world. So I get it's very illogical to think about today, but if we are spending even half of our time there, I think we will want our digital world to reflect our physical world.
Hello, my name is John George. I'm a software engineer. NFTs are a hot topic these days. but they're not widely adopted yet. So what would need to shift economically, societally, legally in order for NFTs to become widely adopted?
My answer to that comes back to what we're doing, which is education and answering those critical questions. I think Gen Z may have the most imagination and touch points into this right now. So if we embrace that, if we invite them to answer these critical questions with us, I believe we'll be able to feel more comfortable making that transition into the metaverse and NFTs. But I think we have to learn more first. We have to feel more comfortable before we take the jump.
Katie, I have a final question maybe. And I asked this to the educators in the room. Katie, if you've been with us in the academic track in the morning, you know that I keep calling out that we have high schools here from, in this session, Old Forge and Wilkes-Barre Area STEM Academy. And how do we include the high schools as our partners in this conversation? Because I think the high school students are all across the spectrum, maybe more advanced than in many respects. But how do we incorporate the high schools into this conversation?
That's a great question.
And I can throw that at your table too if you want.
Yeah, I know we have programs at Alvernia where we invite high school students in, but I think going back to how we opened the conference, mentorship. So I right now have a group of undergraduate students that I lead and that I mentor, but then passing that down one more level where those students can then mentor high school students, and it can be a culture of support learning. And Rodney might have a better answer than I do.
In his mind, anyways.
Those who can't do teach, right? Part of the answer to your question, Don, is creating the, how do you pull this off and through partnerships? So one of the things that Katie was just showing is this whole program that she's talking about is part of a new program that we're going to be launching in what we call creativity, a degree in creativity. Right? And you would say, well, what's the outcome of a degree in creativity? And the answer is we have no idea, right? Because 10 years from now, what is Katie going to be the CEO of? What company is that? Because she's going to be a CEO in 10, 15 years, right? Well, that hasn't been invented yet. So how do we prepare graduates today for things that we don't even know what they are tomorrow? There's a certain skill set, a certain mindset, a certain behavior that you can prepare students with that will make them lifelong learners, lifelong educators, but it's got to have a value to it. I can't just say take a bunch of English classes, that's going to make you better. I got to give you some skill set training that also has that. Part of that is what you saw on the screen is what we are partnering with one of our local partners with, and we're calling it the Gravity Sketch Lab. We are going to have our students doing internships at his Gravity Sketch Lab, where they are his interns making all kinds of new innovative products in the metaverse for him. We're going to train them how to work in the metaverse, but he's going to build a lab with the goggles and the whole thing and 9 yards, and he's going to pay for all of that, and they're going to end up being his summer workers. We're building his factory for him and his factory workers in the metaverse. And so that's the kind of training that these students are going to get. So even in the metaverse, our students will have experiential learning because they'll be doing it every day.
And just to answer the high school question more directly, so we're designing all kinds of summer programs now where our local high schools that have STEAM can connect with our institution to be able to take that out for a trot and get some experience and be part of that. Pardon? No, since we're talking about this kind of thing, we're looking at summer programs across the board, but STEAM in particular. So.
Any final questions for Katie? Katie, fantastic job today. Thank you so much.